My daughter, Emily, has gone totally insane and has left my house to live with her transgender baby daddy in a homeless camp. My daughter came out to me at 16 as non-binary, but only sometimes. Essentially, she was neither gender on some days but a girl on others. I feel this is where things started to go wrong. 3 years later, she randomly announced she was 4 months pregnant and yelled that this was my fault. She blamed me because I didn't put her on hormone blockers. I was already in absolute disbelief, but then she said something even more ridiculous. She has come to see her baby like a sibling and expects me to raise it as if it were mine. She claimed this was my duty because my refusal to accept her non-binary state led to her becoming pregnant. As soon as she said that, my language grew sterner. I said, "Congratulations, Mommy. You have some hard decisions to make." I also said I would absolutely not raise her baby for her. She didn't even respond but instead ran upstairs into her room. Right now, she's locked herself in and is loudly wailing. She's been in there for more than 10 hours. Since she has an attached bathroom, she probably won't be coming out until she gets hungry. Considering it's been half a day, I think she has snacks stored. Update 1. It's the middle of the night, and she has decided to pack some of her clothes and stay with one of her friends. One who I suspect is the baby daddy. Before she left, she told me that she already called the police and let them know she was leaving of her own free will and was not in danger, as if I was going to report a 19-year-old adult as a runaway or something. It was insulting. I told her she needs to work out the details if she wants to raise the kid with the father. I also let her know she was welcome back home when she had a plan in place. Update 2. My daughter and the person who got her pregnant wanted to talk to me in a public place, so we chose IHOP. Although I suspected I knew who her lover was, I was disappointed to confirm it. They had been part of my daughter's friend group since high school and were the only one I ever had a problem with. They are trans now, but a year ago, when they were all 18, this person made me deeply uncomfortable. Once, the friend group was watching a movie in the living room, and every time I passed by, this person would lock eyes with me and make obnoxious, loud moaning sounds. I told them to knock it off but had to grow sterner when they did it again. Later, while I was in the kitchen, they somehow snuck up behind me and mimed inappropriate gestures. I caught them in the act, fully clothed but still startling and creepy. I kicked them out. From here on, I'll refer to them as Nutman because that's what they are. The IHOP meeting was a total disaster. Nutman sat with my daughter and immediately went on the attack. Their points were as follows. I was poisoning my daughter by making her take birth control. For the record, I only helped her get the prescription. If I'd known she didn't want to take it, I wouldn't have insisted. It would take years to fix my daughter because I didn't give her hormones, even though I had no idea that was what she wanted. I was further treating her like garbage by not taking care of the baby while she fixed herself. So, apparently, even though I'm a monster, a bad mommy, and more, I'm even worse for not taking in their baby. At least no one suggested I raise it as if it were my daughter's sister anymore. That might have been my daughter's thought initially. Nutman did most of the talking, while my daughter just sat there glaring at me and nodding along. It was a whirlwind. Nutman pounded the table a few times. Even the waiter knew not to bother us after bringing drinks. I'm surprised we weren't asked to leave. I asked why Nutman couldn't take care of the baby, and they said their parents were even worse than me and that they were currently homeless. So, my daughter and Nutman taking care of the child they created is apparently out of the question. I told them I wouldn't be raising their baby and that adoption was the best bet. They responded by saying that if I didn't agree to raise the baby, they'd make sure I never saw it. I won't raise their child for them, so I guess that's that. Update 3. A couple of weeks ago, I came home from grocery shopping to find a strange pregnant woman at my door. That woman used to be my daughter, but she had changed so much that she seemed like a stranger. She chattered constantly so I couldn't get a word in, had several small face tattoos, and, pardon me for saying, looked like she had aged 20 years. She had been living rough. She was angry that I locked her out. I changed the locks after she left and she basically expected to move back into her old room with no problems, like it was just another day back in winter when she lived here. Of course, I wasn't going to turn her away. So I guess in a way she was right. She had been living in the homeless camp with Nutman. I insisted she take a shower because it looked like she hadn't since leaving. She also smelled terrible. She showed no shame about blocking my number or the trouble she had put me through by disappearing. All she wanted to talk about was the grand fate that she and Nutman were building. A community of new people. She went on and on without mentioning the baby once. I don't know how anyone can stand them, but Nutman apparently has multiple partners, and my daughter is one of them. She seemed perfectly happy about this arrangement. Finally, I broke in and asked about the baby. She claimed she had been to the doctor regularly. A lie, as I later found out, and that everything was fine. At this point, I knew she had to be on something. If she was awake, she was talking, and none of it made any sense. Here's what I managed to piece together from her ramblings. She and several others, both men and women, were supposed to carry the next generation of new people. Nut Man was the center of the wheel, and the rest were spokes. Sometimes, she wanted to keep the baby, though she had no plan for how to house or care for it. Other times, she wanted to adopt it out. Not for the baby's benefit, but to spread the new people. The new people, according to her, were without gender expectations. That's why she didn't know or care about the baby's gender. Oh, and apparently, some of the wheel are empathic and can communicate feelings through the other world. It was utter madness. As a house guest, she was the absolute worst. She acted like she was still in the camp, never cleaned up after herself, rarely flushed the toilet, and demanded, not asked, to be taken to restaurants. I obliged a couple of times because I missed her and was trying to reconnect, but it was a disaster. Afterward, I took her to the store to get baby supplies, but she seemed completely detached, just picking up the first thing she saw without any thought. Eventually, I found out the baby was due in mid-July, which didn't match the time frame she originally gave me. I was obsessed with the possible due date because I didn't know if she'd leave the baby on my doorstep. She lied about being under a doctor's care and refused to focus on any single topic for long. Instead, she just rambled about Nut Man, who was chilling back at the camp. When she went into labor, it was chaos. She was having contractions, but her water hadn't broken yet. At the hospital, it came out that she had never been to a doctor during the pregnancy, which classified her as high risk. She was admitted immediately. That's when the switch flipped. She became hateful toward the nurses and doctors, saying the absolute worst things. These professionals were saints in their patience and professionalism. She also had delusions of grandeur, declaring herself their queen and accusing them of trying to punish her. Her behavior was appalling. I pulled one nurse aside and explained where she had been living and what I suspected. They were incredibly professional, giving her painkillers that helped improve her mood. To my surprise, her blood work came out clean. I wasn't in the room for the birth because she didn't want me there. Heaven help me, I was a little relieved. I was ashamed of her behavior. However, I did speak with a social worker and explained everything. The social worker was very kind but couldn't officially speculate on my daughter's mental state. I told them she had to be bipolar or manic because her behavior was far from normal. Miraculously, the baby was born healthy and at a good weight. My daughter lucked out big time and had a normal delivery. She didn't name Nut Man as the father, though I informed the social worker. Unfortunately, they can't add someone to the birth certificate based solely on my word. That evening, she up and left the baby without officially checking out or saying goodbye. Because the hospital is a safe surrender point, she won't be charged with abandonment. Getting a new family is likely the best thing that could have happened for the baby, even with the flaws of the foster system. Still, I feel awful. I suspect the baby will have a sibling soon, as my daughter seems intent on continuing this cycle. I know she's not well. She's likely part of a cult and may be in danger based on the bizarre stories she shared about its members. But she's also a selfish liar. It's sheer luck or grace that her baby was born healthy. Her behavior at the hospital showed me that she doesn't value other people. To her, they're simply tools to serve her needs. She knew she was about to give birth and came home expecting me to care for her. I did, of course, because she was 9 months pregnant. But as soon as she had no further use for me or the baby, she left. I haven't entirely written her off. There's still a chance she might come back to her senses. But for now, I think I'm blocked again. I need to seriously think about boundaries and possibly moving. I can't shake the fear of finding her and her culty weirdos on my porch one day. That's it. I don't know what to do.